Welcome back to my hot kitchen. I'm Wendy, and we have a delicious feast that is inspired by Cajun flavors for you to share with your sweetie on your next romantic date night at home. For an appetizer, we'll be enjoying some brie canapes with tomato bruschetta topping. For the main course, Cajun shrimp Alfredo. Let's get started on those brie canapes first. So the first thing that you're going to need is 2 nice slices of bread. You want to find yourself a nice artisan style bread. And about 2 ounces of nice rich brie cheese. Now I wedged up the brie cheese and I just sliced off little wedges or little slices here. I'm just going to put them on the bread. You want to find a nice rich cheese, at least a double cream. Triple cream's even tastier. The cheese is really important because it's going to offset the acidity and brightness of the tomato. So just laying it out here. You don't have to worry about covering all the bread at this point because you're going to toast it and warm it and then spread the cheese out. The other thing that you want to do to the bread is maybe cut the crusts off so that you just have the tender insides for your sweetie to enjoy. That's your choice though, but that's how I'm doing it. So I'm just going to pop these in the toaster for a couple minutes, crisp up the bread a little bit, and soften up that cheese. Now I'm going to come back over here and start working on prepping up the tomato. I have 1 nice big beef steak tomato, and I'm going to pull the stem out with a little fruit scooper. Then I'm going to slice the tomato on its equator and work on scooping out the insides here. Because for this dish, all you're going to really need is the meaty part of the tomato. You don't need all this seedy, goopy stuff in the middle. It's just going to result in watery, unpalatable result. Fortunately, this is a really easy thing to do. Just reach in there with your thumbs, scrape it out. And then once you have just the meat, you just kind of dice it up. Now you're going to use about half this tomato for the Cajun shrimp Alfredo and about half for the bruschetta. So I'm going to work on the bruschetta part first. And I'm going to cut it in long strips and cut it kind of fine. So I'm going to cut crossways across those strips. And this one I'm going to cut a little coarser. Set it aside. So that's for the pasta. The next step is to mix up the bruschetta. I have about a tablespoon here of chopped bell pepper and about 1/4 of an onion. Basically, when you're doing this, you want a 1 to 2 proportion. 1 part pepper, 2 part onion, and about 3 parts tomatoes. I have about 4 chopped black olives. And last but definitely not least, about a clove's worth of nicely chopped garlic. Just going to let these mix together here and sort of start marinating in the acidity of the tomato while I mix up the Dijon aioli. So in here I've got about a tablespoon of mayonnaise and about 2 teaspoons of Dijon mustard. And I'm just going to stir those together with a couple drops of Tabasco sauce. You can get as crazy with the Tabasco sauce as you and your sweetie like. Just blend it all together. This is very straightforward here. Blend it until you have one smooth, even consistency. And if you happen to have a squeeze bottle, break it out right now and pour the aioli into that. There we go. Get back in there. Now, put a little bit of the aioli in the tomato mix. If you have a little left in the bowl, just go ahead and scrape it out. Put it on there. You're gonna need maybe a teaspoon's worth of the goodness that you just mixed up. Toss it together. The aioli is gonna add a little richness and depth to this lovely topping for your canapes. The final ingredient to add is gonna be some of your favorite Creole or Cajun seasoning to taste. And just toss that in as well. And you wanna give it a little taste before you commit it to the bread. That is so tasty. So simple, so good. Grab our little toast out of here. Again, you're just looking for a little light crispness and a little softening of the cheese. The next step is just to spread the cheese out across the bread. Use a butter knife or the back of a spoon, it all works the same. Try to get each little nook and cranny edge to edge. And just top with a little scoop of the bruschetta. Place them on nice little plates. And bring them in. Hit them with just a nice little drizzle of the Dijon aioli, just for a little extra flavor and effect. And these are ready.
What smells so good?
Oh, appetizers, just in time.
Yum, you look wonderful.
Well, thank you. So do you.
Wow, look at this.
So we got a little brie canapé going on here. Take a nice bite out of that one.
That is absolutely delicious.
Don't you love the cheese on there?
You're so amazing.
Yay. Just make yummy food. Well, it is time to start working on the entree part. The first part that you're going to want to do is pretty unexciting, but very important. Take your 1 serving of fettuccine and cook it off. Obviously, you're going to want to use hot boiling water, a nice ample amount of salt to season it up properly, and a nice dollop of olive oil to keep it from sticking. Plus, it helps enhance the flavor too. And then over here, in your big saute pan, you're gonna wanna get a little bit of butter, about a tablespoon's worth, melted in it. And you're gonna wanna start sweating your celery. Got about 2 tablespoons or so. About another 2 tablespoons or so of green peppers. Actually, this pepper is a pretty pepper. It had a little orange to it. About a clove of garlic, about 2 cloves of garlic. Let's make sure that pasta gets in the water all the way. We don't want any crispy ends on there. Get a nice little stir. Now back to this pepper, onion, celery, garlic business here. That was almost a cup's worth of chopped up onion. About half of a jalapeno. I happened to find this pretty red one. Thought it would be delicious. Stir it all up in the butter. What you want to do is just let it sweat for about 10 minutes or so. Avoid letting the vegetables brown, so keep the heat on a nice medium-low temperature. Well, this little sweated vegetable mix is looking amazing. You should give it a little taste. And just enjoy the buttery richness that the simplicity of the celery, the onions, and the 2 different types of peppers and garlic all sweated together make. What a great foundation for this shrimp dish. Now let's also drain off the pasta. I'm going to drain it off into a colander here in the sink. Hit it with a little cool water to stop it from cooking any longer. Give it a little shake out. Return the hot noodles to the hot pan. And while I'm over here, I'm also going to grab the shrimp and the milk that I'm going to need to finish off this dish. About a half cup of milk and about 2/3 pound of shrimp that have been peeled, deveined. And now I'm going to add this other pan to my burner here. I'm going to put the milk in it, about a half cup of whole milk. And at this point, I'm also going to whisk in about a teaspoon of cornstarch. You want to whisk the cornstarch into the liquid while it's still cold so it doesn't lump up. Now typically, Alfredos are made with a heavy cream. So you can think of this as a light Alfredo sauce. You're adding the cornstarch to thicken up the milk a little bit so that it emulates the texture that heavy cream provides in Alfredo. Keep the heat on medium-low and bring the milk to a simmer. Make sure you whisk it to avoid forming a little skin. Let's turn the attention back to this amazing Cajun shrimp Alfredo topping here. So the next thing to do here is to add some spices in. I've got about a teaspoon of paprika, a little scant 1/8 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and some sweet herbs, about a half teaspoon of each. I'm going to be using basil and tarragon. Any sort of sweet herbs that you like would be fantastic in this. Just keep it simple, use only 2. Allow the spices to work their way into the flavors of the onions, the celery, the peppers, and the garlic. Hit it with a couple ounces of white wine. Add your chopped tomato from the first course. And allow these to stew for just a moment with the lid on. So the milk is thickening up nicely, and as the little bit of it is evaporating off, it's also concentrating it a bit. So that's great. I'm gonna go ahead and add about a tablespoon of butter. And about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Whisk all that goodness together. And I'm gonna take it off the heat here, because the next step involves melting the cheese in the milk, and we'll get the very best results if the milk is not boiling while you do that. If the cheese gets too hot, it has a tendency to break and turn into an unpalatable texture. Just the heat of the milk should be enough to melt all your cheese, and by the way, that was about a half cup of grated Romano cheese. I'm just going to let that sit and let the heat melt the cheese for me for a second. And come back over here to the main event. This is stewed together very nicely indeed. The rest of the time we're going to cook without the lid on. I'm going to add my shrimp and spread it out throughout the dish. And just cook it until it's just all turned pink and opaque. While that finishes, I'm going to go back over here and work on my Alfredo sauce a bit more. I'm going to return it to my warm burner for just a moment to aid in melting the rest of the cheese. Definitely not enough to bring it up to a boil. just enough to add a little heat into the mix. So you're gonna love the way the flavors play off each other. The creamy Alfredo sauce in the background and the subtly spicy, deeply flavored shrimp on top. It's gonna be a real winner of a romantic meal. Let's give this a little taste to make sure we've got all our flavors balanced out in there. A nice consistency. I love me a good Alfredo sauce, and that one is killer. So now take the fettuccine and toss it in with the sauce. Get it all coated, get it all loved up. You want this to be a complete package before you put it on the plate. Switch over to my spoon here. Something a little bit more assertive than that little flimsy whisk. There we go. There we go, that looks great right there. Turn my attention back to the shrimp. Looking for them all to be opaque and lightly pink. Just when they're all almost there at that opaque and lightly pink point, I'm gonna go ahead and love it up with a bit of Tabasco sauce, or you can use your favorite hot sauce and some of that good old Cajun Creole seasoning. Add both of those ingredients to your tastes. Again, you're gonna wanna give it a little taste. Really, really tasty. And when you've got it seasoned to the point where you like it, you are ready to plate. So the first thing to bring in is the pasta. Nice little amount of the lovely cheesy fettuccine. This beautiful white Alfredo sauce on top. And pour the shrimp over that. Hit it right in the middle. Let them cascade down the side a little bit. And of course, you're always going to want to garnish. So I have a 3-part garnish here. First part is a little chopped up mix of sweet gherkin pickles and black peppers. Add a little briny saltiness to it. And because it goes so well with any fish or seafood, some capers on top as well. And just like that, you whipped up an amazing Creole feast to share with your sweetie on your next romantic date night at home. There's many wine options with this beautiful dish. You can enjoy it with a light red like a Pinot Noir, or maybe an off-sweet white, think Pinot Gris or Riesling. We'll be enjoying it with a Riesling. Now call in your sweetie. Apron is out.
Yummy! Wow, look at that.
Date night.
Yes.
Hey, that's off my plate.
I'm feeding it to you. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm excited about this one.
Wow, does this look delicious?
I know how you like shrimp.
This is such a hot kitchen.
So thanks for joining me in my hot kitchen tonight. Have fun turning up the heat in your kitchen, and I'll see you next week. Night night.